Hey friends, welcome back to a new Power BI video. Now I was asked whether I do know a trick or have an idea on how to always get the refresh date into our Power BI reports. So let's say you create a really fancy report with a lot of visualizations, but then you show it to your audience and people ask you, well, that's great, but the data, when is it from? Is it the latest data or not? And what is the timestamp? Then you might want to include the refresh time, so the exact refresh time, in your report. And I already prepared this here, and you will see that if I right click on refresh up there, or I would refresh the report, I will see that this will adjust and I can see exactly the date, so the current date. Here, by the way, it's European format, so not US format, but this of course depends on your local time zone and date. So how can we implement this? Well, there are two things. The first is we can write a little query in the Power Query Editor. So let me show this to you. I go to transform data here. And you see here, I do not have any data inside. It's just a sample report. But here I have a little query. And if I go to the advanced editor, so that's basically what it looks like. So it's simply source. And of course you can name this whatever you like. But please make sure if you name this differently here, you also need to name it differently here, right? Because this step here is referencing this name here. So that's why it's important that those have the same name. And what we do is simply writing a little bit here of M, simply this hash table, and we specify that it is a table, so itself. And then we say date last refresh equals date time. And what we want is, we want the local date time. So in my case, for my country here and where I'm sitting currently. So we can use datetime.localNow, which is a function in M. And we use those curly brackets or parentheses because we need to put it in a table, right? And that's what we do here. And then that's basically all the code. So it's not really much, but we need to type in here like that. Again, if you want to rename it differently, it's up to you. You don't have to name this way. Just make sure that source here and source here would have the same name, right? And then specify your table. Hash table is also a DAX function, so convert this into a table. And we make sure that we want to have the local date and time. Local now means date and time. And then you should see no syntax errors. And as soon as that's the case, then you're good to go. Simply click on done. And then you execute the query. And you basically get as a result the exact date as well as the time. So you get a table basically with only one unique row, which is exactly a date timestamp. You can name this query whatever you want, it's up to you. But then finally click on close and apply and load this specific table or this M code in your model. So you see that because it's only a little function and only one specific row in the table, it doesn't really blow up your model. So just in case your model is already very big, don't worry, it's simply one line of code here for the query editor. And then what I did in order to get the date itself, because if I now referencing to the actual field from my table, this would be this one. I can tick this and you'll see by default here I get in this case a bar chart, but I could actually go also with a card, change it to a card if I want, but I don't really get the desired result. So I don't get here this exact day and time stamp, right? So how do I do this? Well, what I did was I wrote an additional DAX function. So kind of easy, but let me show it to you. I put the query date last refresh, so actually the field, which is a calendar icon here, so it's a date field, right? Or date time field in our case, and I put this simply into the values function. And remember, the values function is a table function in DAX, which simply returns a value. So that's what I did. So that is why I want to make sure here as well, under modeling, if you want to write this measure, actually be aware, I said measure, but don't click on new measure here. Make sure that you click on new table. Because what you actually do here is you create a DAX table, not a measure. So use this new table under modeling and then type in values and then referencing your specific, in this case, column from your query, which you have created. And as soon as you've done this, then of course the query itself is visible here and is available. And you can put or place this field here. This is simply a card, default card, nothing special. But now you can place this everywhere on your report. I already increased the size. You can also decide whether you only want to see the date or the time as well. That's up to you because it's based on the formatting you apply. But you can drag this anywhere on your report and place it somewhere, adjust the size, adjust the colors the way you want. And then whenever someone is refreshing the data, or you're refreshing the data, or it happens automatically, depending on how you set this up, of course, then you will see that if I click on refresh now, as just an example, that the date will update, right? And this will always tell you, okay, when was the last refresh time? And not only you, but also the report consumers. So that's it for this video. So I think it's only a short trick, but I really think that's really quite helpful. And hopefully this is it for you as well. Now, thanks a lot for watching. In case you enjoyed the video, I would highly appreciate it if you give it a like. And also that you subscribe to the channel, because this makes, of course, then even more interesting to me to create further videos in the future. Okay, so thanks a lot, and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, thanks guys.